filmmakers with nothing in common. They thought they had it all figured out. They don't just follow the movies, they make them. Alexander Pavlak, Mario Silvas, and Jamal Alexander are the makers on film.
Hey, what's up, Buttercup?
What's up?
How's it going?
Alright. I'm watching the show right now. I've been real busy all week. I didn't have a chance to see it.
How far in are you?
Episode 2.
Oh, okay.
Do they still make Schlitz malt liquor?
Why?
Because it's in the show and I want to have some.
Yeah, that was a product of the 80s. Kind of like how Billy Beer was a product of the 70s.
I'm sad about the diner owner.
Yeah, I know, right?
I want a Schlitz.
Actually, it does look like Schlitz still exists.
Seriously?
Yeah, I'm on their homepage right now, and apparently there was some sort of 2004 boxing thing that they sponsored.
Huh.
You know, the older sister's best friend was probably really hot. They just made her look like a nerd.
That's their first acting gig, too.
The older sister's friend?
Yeah,
What do you say?
he's yelling at the TV show.
Is he just an angry old man? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
I can hear you over this box thing.
Told you, angry old man.
How's your week going? How was your job?
Long. Just fucking long. Last night, it was supposed to be 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. 10-hour day.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, it's okay. We can go for a little bit longer. We can go for a little bit longer. We can go, and they kept doing that. So I didn't get home till 12:30 last night.
Okay.
And the place it's not terribly far from where I live. It's about half an hour away.
Mm-hmm.
I know it wasn't 12 hours, or it was 12 hours, but they didn't quote us 12 hours.
Right.
And that's the hardest part, is that when somebody quotes you, what it is, what the time is, and everything, and then they just don't abide by it.
Yeah.
That's what's really frustrating. Yeah, I would have been getting home like at 10:30ish.
Right.
If about 10. If they'd have abided by the actual call times from what they're calling. So 2 hours, it's not a huge loss, but that's 2 hours,
Right.
So I was just, by the time it hit like 8:30 and we still had like 9 more shots, I was fucking done with the shoot last night.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But got paid, got home, slept until my cat woke me up. And it's so fun. I don't know if you can hear her right now, but she's screaming.
No, I can't.
Oh, okay. She's 2 years old, so she's still, she's still a little one.
Yeah.
Alright, I'm 2 episodes in.
Nice.
That should be good enough.
Yeah.
With how many episodes?
I don't know, it's like 10, 13, something like that. 8.
You saw 8 episodes?
Well, I saw them all. I watched it well before the show.
Alright. Yeah, sorry about that. I just haven't had the time.
Whatever. You're the only one. Or no, Alex is working full time now too, aren't you?
Yeah.
No.
And?
Fuck it, I'm the only piece of shit then. I work freelance.
Wait. Oh yeah, you're still freelancing, aren't you?
Yeah, that's all I do right now is just freelance.
It can't be that bad. You're living like in LA.
Uh, it sucks having to figure out where your next paycheck is coming from.
No, I can understand that. Like
Now,
not having that fancy.
yeah. But I'm doing what Alex did when he was still in Arizona. I got Lyft,
Oh, you're
or I
doing
got my
that
new
now?
car. Yeah, I have my. I'm getting my car checked out tomorrow.
Hey, is Lyft like just the new version of Uber or something?
No,
It,
Lyft started first, but they started in San Francisco, and then Uber came about as a competition, but they went globally.
yeah,
That's what
Yeah,
it was.
but it's basically Coke and Pepsi right there.
Yeah, exactly. It's the same thing.
I don't recognize the world anymore. All these new things.
Yeah. But what's really, it's fucking cat. But what's really funny is that the Lyft, you have a higher chance of getting tipped by your um, passenger than you do with Uber. For whatever reason that is, Lyft has a 20, I think it was 23 or 24% chance higher of getting tipped by the customer than you do with Uber for
Well,
some reason, whatever that
Uber
may be.
Uber discourages tipping for some reason, and I'm not
Do
really
they
sure why.
really?
Yeah, because you can actually tip on the Lyft app.
Right.
That makes Lyft sound worse because if the other one doesn't even let it happen and you're only 20% better, something's wrong.
Well, it's because people, of course, are so used to Uber and then switch to Lyft. You don't really think about it. Plus, it's like a taxi. Once you get in, you get to your destination, you're gone.
Well, even with taxis, you tip.
Mm, that's true. But most of the times you don't.
Yeah.
Depends on the taxi driver, right?
Exactly, that too.
Well, yeah, it's like anything in the service industry.
Yeah. But yeah, it's hopefully I'll be able to get that. Or, hopefully my car passes. Let's put it that way.
How
How
new?
do you have?
That's 2010.
Like what?
Oh, Kia Soul,
A little tiny, but you can work with that.
Yeah, a lot of people
four
use it.
doors. It's 4 doors. That's all you need.
There you go.
Well, a
Basically,
couple
yeah.
other things, but yeah, you need 4 doors. All the windows and all the locks need to open and close. That's basically it. Like those are the two biggest things that you need to
Well,
watch out
seat belts.
for. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, seat belts. That's
So,
anyhow.
so stepping away from that for a second, you guys remember the show that we did a few months back, Making a Murderer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you hear
Oh
about?
shit! Did you hear it? Yeah.
What happened?
You didn't hear about the developments in the whole case?
No.
Do,
What?
do, do you remember the kid?
Yeah.
Uh, the he's going to be. It's possible that he's going to be released in 90 days. A federal judge on appeal is looking through all the evidence, specifically watching the documentary, and saw that his lawyer was not working in the best interest of the clients and working in cahoots with the prosecution, and the kid never actually got a fair trial.
Okay, that seems like more just he's getting off on a technical on something to do how he was tried as opposed to whether or not he's actually guilty.
Well, it's about getting a fair trial.
Right. But
That's the
he's
first and foremost thing.
not getting a fair trial. But it's kind of like you know I'm stretching my brain to think of a famous example of a technicality they say, but
Well, the technicality works mostly on the fact that the
no,
that not only did the defending lawyer work with the prosecution, which is a huge no-no, but the federal judge actually watched the entirety of the interrogation tape and saw how bad that was for the kid because the kid did not have a lawyer or his parent present. And the cops really did coerce him into saying the things that he did, and didn't let up until they heard the things that they wanted to hear. And that's the basis primarily on or not primarily, but that's the major basis on why this is going to appeal. And prosecution has 90 days to come up with a rebuttal, basically.
Again, it's more of how he was tried as opposed to how whether or not he actually did it or not.
Well, yeah, that's
Yeah,
a big
exactly.
thing
That's
in
that's
our.
what it is. He didn't have a fair trial. Everybody's innocent until proven guilty.
Yeah.
This kid was just guilty. That's what happened.
He was railroaded. He was tried in the press. There was nobody around who thought he was innocent before the trial started, and the prosecutor was kind of a piece of shit, and his lawyer believed that he was guilty, so he didn't do anything, and the judge didn't even want to give the kid a new lawyer when he wrote a letter to the judge asking for a new lawyer because he felt his lawyer didn't act in his best interest.
Uh, Here, I hope they do the whole trial over again.
Well, they're going to see if the prosecution, in a federal case, thinks that there's enough evidence to actually try him. If there isn't, if they don't believe that he's guilty, then they're not going to send a rebuttal. They're just going to let him go.
Are they thinking of letting the uncle out?
Well, considering the fact
No, they haven't done anything about the uncle yet.
Well, considering the fact that a lot of the reason why the uncle went to jail was because of the testimony of the kid, and the testimony of the kid is being debunked, they are probably going to relook into his case as well.
Hang on. It's not being debunked. It's the method in which they got it out of him that I feel like they're putting on trial.
Yeah, that's debunking it. The method in which they got the confession out of the kid was
Because they were aggressive in getting it out of him doesn't mean that they got him to talk.
No. There's a difference between being aggressive and rightfully knowing that there was something wrong with this kid and keep forcing him information until he says exactly what they want to hear.
Well, the thing is, they violated his civil rights by not allowing him a lawyer or his parent present. He is under the age of 18 and deserves that. And they refused to let his mom in the interrogation room. That alone should have thrown out the entire investigation.
Wait, hang on. If they get this kid alone again and they ask him all, and they get him the lawyer and they get him the mom, and the kid then just ends up saying all of that stuff over again, are you finally gonna like, you know, see like accept that maybe that's just what happened? These two monsters killed that poor girl.
Yes, if that happens, if they get him a lawyer, well, his mom doesn't need to be present anymore because he's been in jail for 10, 11 years and now he's
11
26.
years.
11 years and now he's 26, so he doesn't need his mom in the thing anymore. But he does deserve to have a lawyer present during questioning. He deserves not to answer any of the questions, and the cops didn't let him not answer any of the questions. They violated that civil right. So, yes, if he goes back into interrogation, if he comes out with a letter that says, yes, we did it, any of these other things where he says, everything I stated in that was true, then yes. But they claim that they slit her throat and shot her in the head. Both those things are a huge bloody mess, literally. And there was never any blood evidence in the trailer. So until you can actually prove to me that she was killed there. Oh, and the other thing
Hang
is,
on.
no,
So
no, the other thing is there's one more bit of evidence. They're starting to actually look at the bones that were found at all three burn sites, and they're realizing that none of them are human bones. That they do a lot of bird hunting, and they'll burn the guts and the bones of the birds in those burn barrels and in those pits, and the
I don't,
bones that
I
they
don't understand.
found were not human bones.
I don't understand. You said if he says it over again, then you'll find he's guilty. But even if he does that, you're still gonna have your doubts.
Well, there is still some doubts because there is no blood evidence. There is no physical
So
evidence
so
that she was
it's
ever
not
in
beyond
that
the realm of
trailer.
possibility that they were just clean about it.
Have you ever had a head injury that bled?
Yes, on the
Oh,
top of my cranium. I was playing football.
okay. And how neat was that puddle of blood?
How neat was that puddle of blood? It
Yeah.
was not a neat puddle of blood.
No, blood is not neat. And when you sustain a head wound,
If they knew they were, let's say they knew they were going to do it, why wouldn't they just buy tarp?
tarp was never found.
Because they probably got rid of the fucking tarp.
Well, see, that's the thing. If you introduce something into the crime, where's the evidence of it? Where is the tarp? Where is the bloody bullet? Where is the blood stain? They never found anything. If you shoot a person through the head, a bullet does not get stopped by a tarp. It's still going to produce blood. It's going to produce spatter. Unless you've completely tarped off the entire room, including the ceiling, cutting somebody's throat while they're tied to a bed is going to produce splatter.
You're assuming they killed her in that room, by the way. Which, by the way, didn't they kill her in the barn?
The kid's testimony that they're trying to debunk was that they slit her throat in the bedroom while she was tied to the bed, untied her, dragged her to the
To
garage,
the
and then shut
No,
it.
I thought it was to like the side of the garage because it was outside.
Well, they were looking inside of the garage, and they found what they thought was a blood pool, which turned out just to be motor oil because
Right.
they're a wrecking yard. But yeah, because they actually tore up the floor of the garage to analyze the stains that they found, and found out that none of it was blood. So unless you're telling me they tarped off the bedroom, the hallway, the outside, and the garage, which is a shit ton of tarping, and still doesn't guarantee that you're not going to leave a blood trail, and
I,
that nobody's ever saw that,
I have,
or
I have an easier time believing that they were just clean as opposed to this entire conspiracy by the police and the county.
have you never seen an episode of CSI? Have you never ever seen anything
Actually,
in?
as you bring that up, I will counter with the CSI effect. You know what that is, right?
Go ahead.
No, the CSI effect. It's just what happens when criminals watch CSI a lot. They learn to cover their tracks. They were talking about it on like 2020 once.
Okay. Do you think these two guys are that smart?
I think that both of them are monsters and that they did it.
You didn't answer his question.
Yeah.
Do you
No, I
think
don't think
these two are smart enough to do
I don't
that?
think that they're that smart. But I also don't think, you know, it's beyond the realm of possibility that they just took the woman outside, shot her there, and that this kid is just like talking out his ass just to try to cover up what the fact of what they did.
Well, why would he confess to it and then change his story? Usually it goes in the opposite direction.
It sounds like he was trying to give as little information about what they actually did as possible.
He gave 4 hours worth of testimony.
Yeah,
Or
that they had to drag out of him because he was. You could see the kid was actually terrified.
well, anybody would be terrified in that
He was
situation.
terrified, and he was doing his what he I assume was his best to keep as much of his involvement to a minimum.
Well, let me put it to you like this. Let's say for sake of argument, your uncle was falsely accused of something, went to jail for 10 years, got out of prison, still in the same small town, you and he, and then all of a sudden you get dragged in front of the police for a crime that you didn't do, but the police is trying to get you to say stuff. Wouldn't you be terrified?
I
What,
would be. I
uh,
I, I would be, but I wouldn't start volunteering false information.
well, you're also not a 16-year-old boy of limited mental capacity who's just trying to get out of a bad
Well, just
situation.
call it what he is. Stupid.
Well, you can call him that all you want.
Is he not?
He's of lower mental capacity. I
I,
don't
I,
know if he's
I'm concerned
stupid.
about. I'm concerned about how much you defend this family.
Well, I mean, considering the fact that they own their own business and that he's probably going to take over that business someday, and that the business is enough to keep them alive,
Well,
and
see, Jamal, what really worries me about this is that this is a perfect example between left and right with you and Alex. Alex is saying this kid from the facts that we're given, and we're not given all the facts. They always hold stuff back. So Alex isn't 100% right, and this is just me listening to you two argue about this. Sorry. So hearing Alex say that from the facts that we're given, this kid wasn't given a fair trial, and I wholeheartedly agree. But what you're saying is this kid is guilty no matter what.
I'm not saying he's guilty no matter what.
No, 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 no. You are.
Yeah,
That's what
kind of
you're
are.
not realizing. You're saying because this kid said these things, that's irrefutable. Saying that he's himself said it, even though there's no evidence to back it up. But because it came from
The
his
bones
mouth.
in the
No, no,
yard.
no. Shut up. Shut up. What you're
The
saying
bones
is
in the
because it came
fucking
from.
yard.
Which are turning out to be chicken bones and not human bones.
Yeah.
Hey,
Dude, you and
Mickey.
I well know the difference between the size of a chicken bone and a human bone.
Well, the thing is that these are bird bones in here because they do a lot of hunting, like turkeys, wild turkeys and stuff, which actually fly. Bird bones are hollow, whereas human bones have, bone marrow in the middle of them. A visual inspection of the bones, just looking at them, would have told investigators that these were not human bones. They never ever looked at the bones that were in these burn pits.
Actually, now that I typed in making a murderer in the first Google search, just tells me why they're even considering giving that kid a new trial or whatever.
And if you say it's because they're doing a second season, you're completely wrong.
No, it's because they're calling into question the prosecutor's, uh, integrity because of his sexual misconduct.
Well,
So,
yes.
headline says sexual misconduct accusations against making a murder prosecutor undermine conviction. Defense attorney says.
Well, they talked about that in the first season, towards the end of the of the of the of the of the season, towards like the last two episodes. They talked about him being a piece of shit. And yes, when a prosecutor does something illegal, like try to solicit sex out of clients and out of things like that, everything that he does comes into question because he's not working in the best interest of the law. He's working in the best interest of himself. So everything that he does gets reviewed. Everything, not just this case,
Fine.
everything.
I think that he does gets reviewed. Let's not pretend that because there's actually some new, like radical change or development in the entire case that's causing this to happen. They're doing it because the guy is getting caught with his pants down.
No, there are. They're looking at all the evidence again and
Hey
realizing
guys,
that this kid got railroaded.
Yeah.
guys, the conviction's been overturned
Has it officially been overturned?
2 days ago.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
Yeah. Judge
So
overturned.
So
everyone
that
can
means
just shut up now. Apparently,
the prosecution didn't put up any kind of fight about it because they knew. Which probably means that this opens up for what's his? It's not Tex Avery, but I want to say it's Tex Avery.
Stephen.
Stephen
Hey,
Avery.
hey, Tex Avery was a G. You shut your mouth.
I'm just saying that's the only Avery name I know. So that's why I keep thinking Tex Avery instead of Stephen. But this will probably open up Stephen to an appeal. There'll probably be the same federal judge that looks into that too. I'll bet you. But anyway, moving away from that, did you hear about Jared Leto and his anger over the Suicide Squad?
No.
He is kind of pissed because him being a method actor put a lot into the character of the Joker,
Right.
and claims that 90% of what they shot did not make it into the movie.
Oh, I believe it.
And I actually watched the movie. Have you seen the movie yet, Mario?
No, I've yet to catch it.
Okay.
No, I was working this weekend, so.
Okay. Well, there's a spot in the film where the Joker kind of disappears, and then he reappears at the very end later. A little bit of a spoiler there for anybody who hasn't watched it. Sorry, but there's a huge chunk of it where you're kind of like, you know something's supposed to be there, but it's not there. And apparently there is this huge story arc about Harley Quinn and the Joker's romance, quote unquote, their abusive relationship, going more into him creating her, him controlling her, and ultimately him destroying her or trying to destroy her, and her kind of breaking away from the whole thing. And they left all of that on the cutting room floor. David Ayers says that he had a complete movie in about the edit that he did originally, the rough edit. was about 2 hours 45 minutes, and they cut it down to about an hour and a half. And he's like, "Oh yeah, this is the cut I always wanted." And when you watch him talk about it, you're like, "No, that's not the cut you wanted. That's the cut the studio wanted." The studio changed their minds and wanted to go from an R rating, which they originally conceived, to a PG-13 rating. So they cut out all the Joker stuff because it was too much for the audience, and Jared Leto was kind of pissed about it.
I would be too.
Yeah.
Fucking ridiculous.
Well, I think in part that's what is making the audience very mad, and the critics very much criticizing this. That I think had they put in more Joker, had they put in more of these elements to flesh out the story, because I feel like the Joker was was a wasted character, that he had so little, and most of what we see the Joker, he like storms into a place, shoots the place up, all his henchmen are running around in their crazy little costumes with guns. You never see anybody else in the facility, and then all of a sudden, he's talking to somebody and then he's done. It's like blurbs. It's like he's almost an afterthought. And considering the fact that there's another that this whole movie is kind of about relationships. Will Smith's relationship with his daughter, Flag and Moon's relationship together. That it would have been kind of cool to see the Joker's relationship in there, kind of to just position everything else that you see Flag and Moon's and their kind of almost loving relationship versus the Joker and Harley Quinn and their abusive relationship. And when I was watching the film, I was like, there so should have been more of that.
Mm.
And I think, and this is a rare moment, so take note of it. I'm going to say that Jamal was right last week, that it was a lot in the editing choices that really kind of screwed this movie. And apparently, what they did was they handed their footage over to a company that specializes in doing trailers, and they cut all the trailers for the Suicide movie, which were brilliant. And then the studio was like, "No, wait, we want our movie to be more like these trailers." So they went through and reshot and re-edited the fucking movie.
Huh. You know what's really funny? So I was on Reddit yesterday. I was on set. Don't ask me why. Um,
Because you were bored, I guess.
oh god, there was like 20-minute setup sometimes. Fucking, it wasn't even 20-minute setup. It was just like waiting to get set up kind of thing. So
Yeah.
I was on Reddit. Um, but there was a post, and it was basically talking about why um, movie trailers reveal so much, and they do different things than what are actually in the movies themselves.
Well, yeah, that was a big complaint too, that there was so much footage in the trailers that we never saw in the movie.
Hmm. And they were saying for modern movies, Mad Max was the example that was given that I was reading the article about. Um, but it was basically saying the reason they do that is because with a movie like Mad Max,
Hmm.
you don't have a franchise.
Yeah.
So it was the original movie came out in 85, 86,
Something like that.
something like that. Um, and it was an okay movie. Like it was all right.
It was an independent movie and it became a cult hit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Whereas you get something like Star Wars, and that was the second example that they give. Um, and I'm actually trying to find the article right now so I can cite the users. Um, but you get someone like, or you get a movie franchise like Star Wars, and then you can go ahead and do whatever the fuck you want,
Hmm.
because no matter what,
You're gonna get people to come in.
you're not only are you going to get people to come in, but you can give them things, and they're not going to be upset when they don't see that.
Hmm.
Like you can go ahead and reveal um, Han Solo because there's so much more to the story.
Hmm.
But when it comes down to a movie like fucking Suicide Squad, I'll probably go see the movie later this week. But when it comes to a movie like Suicide Squad, is what do you really have other than the movie, the self-contained movie?
Well,
Nothing.
you
That's
you
all you have is that self-contained movie. So they're going to do anything and everything, and this is what a lot of the studios do is they use anything and everything to get you to come in.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what they did.
Yeah. Well, the thing with this is that there is a little bit of a franchise here because it's the DC universe, and they talked about the Suicide Squad in Arrow if you watch Arrow, but even if
Nope.
you don't, you know this is tying in with Batman versus Superman, the standalone Batman movie, the standalone Wonder Woman movie, the standalone Superman movie. They're just doing it in the opposite way that Marvel did it. Whereas Marvel did a movie for each character and then brought them all together as the Avengers, they're doing all the characters together and then doing standalone movies,
Right.
which does a kind of a disservice, especially to a movie like this, because you have to do everybody's backstory real fucking quick.
I sent you guys the article that I was reading,
Okay,
the post.
right. So like they cut out a lot. They cut out Killer Croc's background. They cut out a lot of stuff with Captain Boomerang, which again you have Jai Courtney there, and I felt like it was a waste of Jai Courtney because
Mm-hmm.
he gets cut out. But they do this a lot. They did this with the Fantastic Four. They showed or they hinted at a huge fight scene with the Thing in the military that we didn't see in the movie. They did this with Driver. They didn't know how to to market this movie with Ryan Gosling in it, so they made it look like a driving like a chase movie,
Yeah.
action-packed chase movie, and it wasn't that. And a lot of people got pissed off because they saw a movie, even though that movie was good, it wasn't what they were expecting to see, so they were pissed off about that.
Wait, what did you send me? This is a trailer for Mad Max.
What?
You sent me a trailer for Mad Max.
Still the best trailer of all time, Mad Max.
Yeah. Click it. Did you click it?
Hang on.
Oh, I don't know. Something from the internet. I don't know if I want to click it.
Stop making judgments before you click things, Jamal. Twice you've done
Touch
it
it.
this morning.
Touch it. Just touch it.
No, you can't make.
Fucking poke it a little. I don't care.
Just the
God.
tip.
All right, whatever.
But anyhow, Alex, if you wouldn't mind putting that somewhere in the in today's fucking show,
Sure.
because it totally made sense after I read that. I'm like, and it's so funny because I have, one of the guys I went to school with, he was the one that edited the first Star Wars trailer, the
Mhm.
first Episode 7 trailer. He did an amazing job at it.
Cool.
And then I was thinking, after I saw that, and then I'm watching a movie, it's exactly like you were saying. You watch a trailer and you're like, fuck, this has nothing to do with the movie, especially with Drive.
Uh-huh.
Such a good film, but people hated it for the
They
first month and a half because it was nothing to do with what they showed in the
yeah,
trailer.
yeah. Or the opposite thing, like Terminator 2. I don't know if you guys ever remember or saw any of the original trailers for that. You can find them on the internet, and
Yeah,
sometimes they
probably.
come with the DVDs. But if you watch the first 20, 30 minutes of that film, if you don't know anything about the film, it works so well because you all you know is the first film where Arnold Schwarzenegger was the bad guy, and they sent another guy back to protect Sarah Connor. So you see these two things come back through the time slip, and you think Arnold Schwarzenegger's the bad guy, and first plot twist within the 20 minutes of the film, just kind of punches you right in the face. However, if you actually saw the advertisement, you see the one that says, you know, same make, same model, new mission, and then the whole thing shows how he's a good guy palling around with with the kid, and it's like, they gave away so much in that trailer just to get people to go watch the film. And that's another thing that people get upset about is that that movie trailers give you sometimes too much of the plot. My brother won't even watch movie trailers before he watches a movie because he doesn't want to know anything about it, because again, it sets up expectations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When did that really change?
Well, Terminator 2 was
Realistically, well, no. When did that really become a staple in
giving everything
that?
away.
Yeah, it's just giving everything away because that was subtle. I never even noticed when that was happening.
Yeah. Well,
But then I went to go see was it The Hobbit? Yeah, I want to say The Hobbit when it first came out. Saw the trailer and I was like, okay, because they made it look like Lord of the Rings.
Right.
You know, it's gonna be this giant spectacle.
Yeah.
And then when I went to go see the film, I was like, wow, this sucks dick.
Hmm.
Like everybody I went to go see it with, they're like, wow, that really sucked, man. And it's because everybody was we were so programmed to
Hmm.
go see fucking Lord of the Rings that when
Yeah.
we saw this, it took away.
Yeah. It did. Well, they shouldn't have split it up into three movies. They didn't.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, that huge book wasn't enough material for three movies. If they did two, that might have worked for them. But
No, they could have done the entirety in one film, I think.
they definitely could have. I mean, they could have split it up into two, and that would have been fine. But three was
Yeah.
too much. They did this whole thing with the dragon that turned out to be like the prologue to the last movie, and it was like just.
Yeah.
But like it reached its pinnacle, I think, with the Don Fontaine era, where he was the voice of movie trailers, and he always did "In a World." So you felt like this guy with this awesome voice had to explain to you what the movie was about. And when Terminator 2 came out, and people in the early 90s, and people, they got mad because the trailer gave away too much. They kind of pulled back a little bit and did very vague trailers, and then people got upset because they're not getting what they want. So they're going back to telling more about the plot, or somewhere in between. And it's like it's hard to satisfy people because tastes change all the time. But on the other hand, when you go into a movie like The Matrix is probably the best as far as what they showed and what they didn't show, because they showed nothing of the real world. All the commercials for The Matrix took place inside the Matrix, unless you believe that there were two Matrixes, which I do, but that's beside the point. But everything took place in that primary Matrix. So you didn't see anything of the real world, so you didn't know anything of the movie other than great special effects and humanity fighting against the the robot army.
Mm.
And that's all you really needed to know. So anyway,
Yeah.
there's that. So uh, moving on to our primary topic, Stranger Things, and uh, going in line with trailers. Apparently, to sell this to a company, the Duff Brothers or the Duffer Brothers, I forget what their actual name is. They cut together a trailer for their TV show using pre-existing movies and trailers and stuff.
They do that all the time on YouTube, and some of them do it pretty awesome.
Yeah, so they did that to shop it around, and nobody wanted to buy it because they felt that a movie starring kids that wasn't a kids movie or a kids TV show, nobody would watch. And Netflix was the only one who gave these guys a chance. And God bless you, Netflix, for looking past that kind of shit.
Oh, right.
Because Netflix is probably the best thing right now because they will say something like, "Yeah, do what you want. You guys are the artists. We're just the medium in which people can watch it. So we're not going to tell you what to do." And I,
You
and
know
I
what's really funny? That's what YouTube used to be like. Oh, my knee. Oh, bitch. Oh, oh.
and that's YouTube's revenge.
Do
Ah.
not edit that out.
But that's what YouTube used to be like. YouTube used to be for for the user.
Yeah, well, it still kind of is. I mean,
Yeah, but kind of.
yeah,
The thing is, YouTube when you posted something up on YouTube, it was I'm doing this because I want it to go out there. Now YouTube is I'm putting this up there. Oh
for
wait,
recognition.
I can't have music on it, and I can't have this, and I can't have this.
Oh yeah, yeah. Okay,
Maybe it'll get viewed now.
yeah.
And
Well,
it's like you're shopping around to nobody.
yeah. Well, the way YouTube works is that when um when that Psy song came out, Gangnam Style,
Mm.
people would parody it. And what YouTube would do is see, okay, you're using somebody's music that's not yours. and this is the program. This isn't even a person doing this. The program says, okay, we see that you're using music that's not yours. There's a copyright for this. We recognize that. So what we're going to do is send this to the person who holds the copyright. And if that person says it's okay to display it, we'll let you go. If they say no, then we'll shut you down. And this is what happened with Byline, the movie that we did that Chrissy Boyne. Um, uh,
Oh my God, what happened to him?
I
Sorry.
no, I know. As soon as I said that, I haven't heard anything new about it, but I haven't looked into it yet.
Doing that right now.
For people who, since we've been on such a hiatus, you may have forgotten. Crispy Boyne is the director, and I'll use air quotes, friend of ours,
No,
who
it wasn't.
who is up for brutally beating his girlfriend to death.
Yeah, I was gonna say he killed her, didn't he?
Yes, he beat her to death. That's the death part in beat you to death. But he did a movie at Pima called Byline. That was the movie that everybody worked on, and we found a guy who worked on CSI, who did some music for some of the episodes of CSI, who was going to do the music for Byline. I think he was going to do it for free, and I think he didn't put his whole heart into it, but he did a pretty decent job. But the thing was, Chris Boyne through emails pissed the guy off, and the guy's like, "Fuck you, I'm not going to do it." And I talked to Dave, and Dave's like, "What should I do?" And I'm like, "Why don't you just tell him that, you know, Chris Bourne does not speak for everybody here at Pima, that you're sorry about all this, and that even though you understand his decision not to put his stuff in the byline, hopefully, maybe in the future that we can all work together." And I don't know if Dave ever did that or not, but that was my suggestion to him, and he thought that would sounded pretty good. So Chrissy Boyne said he smoothed everything over, put music into Byline. He kind of did it at the last minute, and he didn't. Victor wasn't involved with this, who was our chief editor for the project.
Well,
Uh,
no, because after Victor broke his hand, he was kind of done with it.
well, no, this is why Victor broke his hand, because
No, 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 that wasn't.
Crispy Boyne came in, was changing shit around, started making fun of both him and me. And then Victor got really pissed off, and he went and hit the wall in the recording studio, which was a load bearing wall apparently, and broke
No,
his
he hit the
hand.
stud. He didn't hit a load bearing wall. He hit the fucking stud.
Okay, well, he did he did that. Either way, he decided to take his frustration out on the wall instead of Crispy Boyne, which in hindsight he probably should have just taken it out on Crispy Boyne, although Crispy Boyne probably would have tried to beat him to death. I that's one of those epic fights that is like, Batman versus the Wolverine. I would totally love to see Victor and Chrissy Boyne go at it, but my God, that would also be scary as hell.
Oh, I'd have given it a good like 30 seconds and then be like, okay, now we have to break it up, guys.
Yeah. We would need the garden hose and a rake to break that shit up. I don't think
God.
those guys would do it voluntarily.
You know,
But
Oh, Alex, by the way, cut all this shit out that we're saying. This is too personal.
okay, yeah, I'll edit it down.
All right, just making sure.
there's an actual dash cam footage from when they took him in.
No.
Yeah, I was actually checking it out right now.
I'm turning it on right now.
Send that to me, would you? Send me the link to that, please.
Yeah.
Hang on, wait.
But
You doing it, Mario?
Yeah.
All right, thanks.
But anyway, Crispy Boyne said he smoothed everything over with the with the uh, with the music guy, with the composer,
Yeah.
and then he was all like, "Oh yeah, I smoothed it all over. He's letting us use his music." And then he put all the music into Byline without anybody witnessing this. And then we all heard the music when it debuted, and everybody's like, "That sounds exactly like the sample music that he gave us," which it turned out several years later, I posted Byline to YouTube, and this was one that I got off of Bob's YouTube page. I ripped it and then put it up on YouTube, and then the composer messaged me personally and said, "Hey, that's my music. I never gave you guys permission to do this. Can you please take down Byline?" And I forwarded this to Dave because I didn't really want to get in the middle of it, but I took down Byline. And I was like, yeah, sure. Sorry about this. You're gonna get in or our instructor is gonna get in contact with you. This is a school project. Hopefully, we'll be able to get all this straightened out. And I don't know whatever came of it, if Dave ever actually talked to the guy or not. But like, the guy was like, "This is my music. YouTube told me that this music was up here. I never gave you guys permission. Please take it down." So yeah, YouTube will not prevent you from using that music. It'll send you a warning that says if you're not using this, if the person doesn't want you to use this, we'll take you down. But that's it. Which is kind of a nice thing about YouTube, but on the other hand, it's kind of a dick thing because yeah, I mean, we're not using that kind of music for any kind of personal gain. We're not claiming that it's ours. I posted what was it? Mob Rules up, and YouTube took out the audio track, even like the dialogue, and it was just the video track that was left on YouTube because somebody who owned the rights to one of the music I used complained. And I only used 3 bits of music. I used uh, Dean Martin's "Watching the Girls Go By," Rihanna's "Gangster for Life," and Mambo Number 5 as the ringtone. So I don't know who complained about it. Probably Dean Martin, fucker. But
Clearly.
yeah. But so anyway, you were the one who came up with Stranger Things. So why don't you talk a little bit about it? Let us.
Why do you make me do things, Alex?
Oh, be a part of the show for once, you bastard.
No, I am here to just participate. And that's it.
This is your participation.
This is my participation.
Yeah.
Fuck, I can't even say that. Um, so Stranger Things, for those who don't know, is a Netflix original. Um, takes place in the 80s. Um, has Winona Ryder in it, which really fucking threw me off guard when I first started watching this because she has not aged well.
That's the same thing Jamal said, but she
Yeah.
did an amazing job in this.
Oh, she does a great goddamn job.
Uh huh.
But yeah, I didn't recognize her at first. Like I had to read the IMDb page and be like, is that fucking her? Like, there's no goddamn way.
Winona Ryder?
Yeah.
Yeah, her and the other guy, the guy who was in charge of the government organization, Matthew Modine. I didn't recognize him either.
I didn't recognize him either.
As soon as he got on screen, and Ryder, I just noticed how badly both had aged.
Well, I think he's supposed to look bad on purpose. But yeah, it seemed very it seemed like they all aged very poorly. But I think that's part of the whole thing too, is that she's kind of trailer trash. He's kind of under a lot of stress. So I think they're supposed to look bad on purpose.
Yeah, and for what the characters were, they did an amazing job with it.
Yeah.
And like Alex was saying earlier, how the one reason that Stranger Things was picked up by different parent companies was because it's 3 kids. Or it's realistically 1 kid as the protagonist, but it's centered around 4 children. Mike is the one that gets stolen by
Will.
Will, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Will gets stolen by the thing. Mike, his best friend, is the one that this is mainly centered about because he's the voice of reason for everybody.
Yeah.
And through Matthew Modine's character, Martin fuck, I forget his last name. Brenner, thank you. They basically create some bad juju for the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And out of it, this little girl, whose name and number 11 comes about. And basically that's where the story picks up. And so what? We've seen the first 2 episodes at least, Jamal?
I'm 2 episodes in.
Okay, so you're 2 episodes in. Do you want to keep watching?
Yes.
Okay.
I know it's pretty amazingly done, isn't it?
Um, I'm intrigued by it. It definitely has that '80s vibe from, like the old ET kids movies and stuff like that. Trying to think of something else from the '80s. Was Monster Squad the '80s?
Mod Squad,
Mod Squad,
Monster,
yeah.
Monster Squad. I don't know.
I don't know
or
what the fuck Monster Squad is, or Odd Squad.
Well, Monster Squad was the '70s. The Goonies. It reminds me of the Goonies
The
too.
Goonies, yeah. The Goonies was a big influence on this.
Even reminds me a little bit of like the high fantasy stuff. What's the one with the flying dog that he rides?
Bud.
Oh,
Bud.
no.
Oh no, Never Ending Story.
Neverending Story, yeah.
I was just being an asshole.
Yeah, it reminds me of that just because it has like the like kids in the '80s vibe to it. But um, and this is just a small nitpick. It's a little weird watching that without like the shitty '80s. You're the tech nerds, like quality film.
Well, they did this digitally, and then they put a film grain over it to give it a more 80s look to it. And when you do that, it still has too kind of a crisp look to it. They should have did a soft focus to help sell that. But I mean,
I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's just it's definitely different, and I kind of like it.
you almost wanted them to actually do this on one of those huge shoulder-mounted VHS recorders, those home video cameras that first came out. Like that would have been like a good look for that almost. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah, but you also have to realize, I mean, within the time and where we are nowadays, like it has to be a clear image.
yeah, true.
No ifs, ands, or buts. Because if you were to go in the upside down with that shitty camera, you would not be able to get those blacks at all.
This is true. This is true.
Tell that to Kung Fury.
I'm sure Kung Fury was still done digitally.
Yeah, that was shot digitally, yo.
Right,
There's no way they could have done the special effects without it to being
right, but they
digital.
made it look like it was old.
True.
Yeah, but they totally went over the top with that. And it
But
was and that's what was the reason for it, is that it was supposed to look over the top.
but if you've ever played the game Silent Hill, they do that too. It has a very kind of 80s VHS quality about it, and the closer you get to like a monster, the worse the quality becomes of the video, which is kind of a cool thing about it. But this is an animated video game that really takes on the qualities of 80s technology.
Man, as I mentioned it, I'm looking it up right now. Did they ever make that full length film they wanted to
For
Of
Kung
what?
Fury,
for Kung Fury?
not that I'm aware of.
Not that I'm aware of, but I mean, shit, they may be working on it.
Yeah, but I was watching some videos on this, and I noticed a lot of the influences from this. But just to give you an idea, like the music is very John Carpenter.
Yeah.
They took influences from Firestarter, Stand by Me, E.T., The Thing, Alien, The Goonies, Poltergeist, Karate Kid, Jaws, and The Evil Dead. They did a lot of like Empire Strikes Back references, which you could
Yeah.
almost fit into like E.T. because E.T. the first thing the kid did was showed E.T. all his Star Wars shit. But yeah, they and Nightmare on Elm Street also they took a big influence on, and they had all the actors watch these kind of movies before doing the shoot. And then even the Duff brothers watched all this stuff before doing the shoot just to get in that 80s mind frame. And even Renata Ryder, her hair is reminiscent of Meryl Streep's hair from, I think it's Silkwood, which was also shot in 83.
I
Which,
was
which
gonna I was gonna say Canadian hockey player, but that's good too.
well, that was the style back in '83. Is that everybody looked like a Canadian hockey player.
And see, that was the beauty of this film, is that every little thing was the 80s. I
Yeah.
mean, it's so funny. I was on the IMDb page, and they've actually put a statement saying the Bronco that the sheriff drives, it's a 80s body style. However, they weren't able to find an 80s um, body frame. So the frame of the vehicle is 90s. It's like 93, but the body style is 80s.
The sheriff's Bronco
Yeah.
is the exact same paint job, and the uniforms are the exact same uniforms that they used in Jaws. They just changed the symbol for the different town.
Really?
Yeah, they were influenced so heavily by these movies that they just started stealing from them. So yeah, it's side by side comparison. Other than the city logo or the sheriff logo, it's the exact same vehicle, exact same paint job.
Really? Because they
Yeah,
were saying that, well, the paint job, yeah, but the body frame was different, is what they were saying.
yeah.
All this talk about the '80s just reminds me just how like that was a magical time for films because everything we do now is like either a sequel, a remake, or a new take on something from the '80s.
Yep.
Well, the nice thing about the '80s were that we could do a TV show like this or a movie like this. If you really watch E.T., it 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 straddles the line between kid movie and adult movie. And it's kind of how this TV show is that even though it's about kids, starring kids, it's not a kids show, although kids could probably watch it and be okay with it. I mean, the monster, kind of like Jaws, the shark in Jaws, you don't see until close to the very end. So the scariness is really built up in your mind. The 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 feel of it, like I said, like there were some pretty adult themes in ET, and it got so bad that in the 90s when we were making everything more passive and more PC, they took away the guns that the FBI agents had and replaced them with radios digitally to make the show less adult and more kid-like. And even if you watch Star Wars, the first three movies that we got, those were kid movies. Those were PG and PG-13. Well, I didn't have PG-13 back then, but those are
Yeah.
PG movies. There was no blood, no real violence, and no swearing. And they had adult themes and adults liked them, but they were kid movies. But if you watch the new Star Wars episodes 1, 2, and 3, those are so dumbed down. They have poop jokes in them, and everything is over explained, and everything is all blinky lights and loud noises, where he was trying to make more kid-friendly movies when he didn't have to because his original movies were kid-friendly. So it's an amazing progress that you think of the 80s as a simpler time, but the movies that we got and the TV shows that we got were very complex compared to what we see now.
Yeah,
And
the
I,
time
I
of cartoons.
yeah, exactly. Like the most gritty, fun adult and kid thing of the 90s that I can think of, and I'm sure there's other things, but would be Batman the Animated Series. Like
Yeah,
when that came out and I started watching that, I was like, I was surprised it was a kids show, that it was an animated show, but then
Yeah, that was
again,
pretty fucking dark.
the stuff that they did was so complex that they could never have done it live action as a live action TV show.
you guys remember the X-Men animated show?
Yeah,
They killed people on that show. It showed you Wolverine actually stabbing people.
yeah,
They don't do that anymore.
no. Like even when they have Deadpool on in a cartoon, who we saw his movie, his is the latest um, superhero movie, the only one in recent history that has an R rating to it. I mean, the last one was like Blade or something.
Yeah.
Watchmen.
The Watchmen. Okay, The Watchmen. But still, The Watchmen was like, what, 15 years ago?
No, that was oh 06, oh 07.
It had to have been after that. I don't know. I wish one of us had access to a computer right now. It was '09, apparently.
That was oh 09? Wow.
Yeah.
That came out after Iron Man.
Yes.
Did it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow. Okay, so like for 7 years? Okay, almost.
Yeah, it's under a decade.
Yeah, okay. So still, that's a pretty significant amount of time. But, we don't get a lot of superhero films that are R. Like, like I said before that, the last one I remember was Blade. So, like, now we have Deadpool, which worked because it was Deadpool. But in the cartoons nowadays, they they declaw him. He's just the comic relief instead of, this badass mercenary who's just crazy. And even somewhat in the movie, they didn't delve into his, insanity. And with Suicide Squad, they take a lot of the insanity out of the Joker. I was watching Suicide Squad, and they put a guy named the Joker in a room with a guy who was actually a stand-up comic, who was on Mad TV, and who can arguably be the best part of the Mindy Project, and the Joker gets outshined.
By the way, I walked out of that theater going, I could use more Ike Barinholtz.
Exactly, because his character was more compelling than a lot of what was on there, and he was.
So you were not a fan of the Joker?
I would have liked to have seen more Joker. I was not a fan of what they did with.
I said last week, Leto and Davis give performances better than this movie deserved, and I think Leto might have the best Joker of all.
Again, we see so little of it that it's hard to tell. That a lot of the critics are saying that his Joker is kind of one note and sterile, and I can see why they would say that, because everything else.
Part of this movie, they're trying to figure out all the things that is wrong with it. Why don't we just kind of say what it is? David Ayers is a niche director who likes old action movies and therefore made one. All the new nice stuff that you see in Civil War and stuff like that, he doesn't do that.
See, he did that though. He didn't present that. He actually did that movie, and then at the last minute was like, let's make it PG-13. Let's cut all that shit out. Yeah. He made it. He got scared, or the company said, no, we need a movie that's kinder, gentler. And somebody was talking that one of the toys that came out is a Joker themed bat costume that the Joker wears, and that all the toys and all the collectibles that came out for this movie somehow were ground in the movie except for this one toy, and everybody's like, was there something there that we missed? Was there a Joker that shows up in a bat costume? And that is something that would have been awesome to see. Maybe I can kind of understand why that might have been cut, because that might have been a little too much, or superfluous to the plot, but that would have been cool to see. I don't know.
To my knowledge, David Ayers only delivered one film that, critics enjoyed, and that was Fury.
Yeah, that was a good film, and that wasn't an action film. And he can do films about characters and about, the pain that they go through. And he could have totally have put elements of that into Suicide Squad, and he didn't. Well, he did, but he chickened out or was castrated at the last minute. But anyway,
he really hasn't directed all that much though.
Ayers?
He's done Harsh Times, Street Kings, End of Watch, which oddly enough did not receive good reviews. I thought that was a very well made movie.
I haven't seen that one yet. That one.
Oh, yeah, I remember seeing that movie.
It was done all hidden camera style.
Never mind. It got an 85. I'm sorry.
Yeah, see, when he does
it was one of those underrated films though, because it was at that time it was just so overdone with the
handheld thing.
Yeah, like the handheld the GoPro took off, and everyone's like, "Oh, we're gonna emulate that," and it was just so overdone. So when that movie finally came out, it was just like,
you'd seen it before.
Yeah, honestly, if it would have come out, because that movie came out 2005.
No, that was more recent than that. End of Watch 2012.
Yeah.
Oh Jesus, damn! I thought it was. No. Christ, I thought it was later than that.
That was like 3 movies ago for him? 3-4 movies, something like that.
I think it was like 4 or 5 movies ago. 1, 2.
Yeah, it's 3 movies back.
Oh, okay, so it's 3 movies back. But if that movie would have, if Harsh Times would have come out, honestly, 3 years earlier, it would have been an absolute game changer.
Yeah.
But he trailed way too late with that one, and it sucked because the movie was pretty good.
David Ayers did Training Day, didn't he? Did he direct that?
No, he
I mean,
wrote a bunch
no,
of
he just
stuff,
wrote
including
Training
Okay.
Day.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's written a bunch of his stuff like SWAT, U-571,
Sabotage.
The Fast and the Furious. Wait,
Yeah.
is that like the first one? Yeah,
Yeah.
2001. That was the first Fast and Furious. Dark Blue.
Never saw Dark Blue.
I can't remember. I can barely remember Dark Blue. It's the Rodney King story, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, it's got Kurt Russell, Scott Speedman. That's probably why I didn't see it.
This looks like what is he? A robbery homicide investigator triggers a series of events that will cause a corrupt LAPD officer to question his tactics.
He wrote SWAT.
I don't
Like
give a
some,
shit what anybody says. SWAT was a really fun movie to watch.
it was a fun movie to watch.
Honestly, it was in the okay. What it really reminded me
Uh,
of was like the Fast and the Furious movies, where you can just kind of
yeah,
be, you're high on a Sunday and you can just end up watching it. Like it
yeah,
was fun.
Well, I ended up just watching that not too long ago, and it was a fun little revisit. And you start seeing more people in that film who, since that film, has become famous. Because like the only real people in there was like LL Cool J, um, uh,
Sam Jackson.
Sam Jackson, and
Actually, I'd say they were, except for Jeremy Renner, they were all pretty big to begin with.
Yeah,
Sam
everybody
Jackson.
was like pretty established already. It just seemed like a fun movie to come out with.
Yeah,
That was all. I don't think David Ayers is ready to get. I hate to say it like this, but like step up to the big leagues. But like get into something deeper when it comes down to his directing.
well,
His writing, his writing is spot fucking on. I love his writing.
well, see, that's the thing too. For Suicide Squad, he got 6 weeks to write it, and he's kind of blaming that as why the movie is what it is. But I don't think so. I
Honestly,
think
that's not a lot of time. No, I get it.
it's
If he
not a
had
lot of
six,
time, especially for a movie of this scope.
I somehow I feel like that's what's wrong with the people making the DC movies. They just say, "Well, we need a movie by when? Let's start."
By Wednesday.
Yeah. And that's why you got Batman v Superman, which again wasted 6 or probably an entire trilogy or like series of good movies in one movie, like ideas in one movie.
They were more concerned with setting up movies than they were actually filming a movie, and
well,
that's
no, what it
really
is, they're more concerned about making sure that they don't lose a profit. Did you know that Ghostbusters has a $40 million loss right now?
Yeah,
I haven't seen that one yet,
Yeah,
but I'm not.
Ghostbusters right now is looking like they're going to lose $40 million, and that's not even including what they lost for advertising.
Yeah.
You know,
What what is their what is their rating on like IMDb or
just
whatever?
like four poo emojis.
no, they got like a 70 something.
What?
Yeah, like
They
a
got a five. They got a five on IMDb.
yeah. I wouldn't trust the fan ratings on that movie in particular. Like other movies, yes, but not that one. People just didn't like it from the moment they announced that cast.
Yeah, I don't get that.
Well, because what they were trying to do is they were trying to make it a uh, uh, a sequel to Ghostbusters 1 and 2.
Yeah,
That's what they tried to set it up as, which was wrong. They should not have done that. What they should have done to make sure that they were going to be, at least not in the red, was to call it a standalone, which would have been perfectly fine.
I thought it wasn't even that they actually rebooted the franchise and brought back the original
But that's
actors.
what it was. They rebooted it. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
that's kind of what it felt like. Even from the advertisement, that's what it felt like because
That's wrong.
they're redoing everything and they're bringing in a car to make into Ecto One, and I'm watching that. I'm like that. If you're going to bring in the original actors being the original parts, why are you trying to do it as a reboot? That's like contradictory to what you do as a reboot.
Didn't we do one of these where I gave you my dream cast for that for the sequel to Ghostbusters? Like I said,
I remember you saying that, but I don't remember who was in it.
Ryan Reynolds, Dwayne Johnson, Kevin Hart.
I'm not a fan of Kevin Hart.
Did I say Kevin Hart? I'm trying to remember. Anyway, I felt
Anyhow,
like they
yeah,
made
like
a
I remember you saying that, but I don't remember who was in it. But they definitely could have done anybody else, but like what's her face? Kristen Wiig.
yeah.
Don't think she's funny at all. I'm gonna go on the record right now. I
And
don't think she's funny.
I would have brought Leslie Jones back because I watched SNL lately. Not bad, not bad.
Apparently she's a real bitch.
Is she?
Oh yeah.
Because she was in tears a few weeks ago and almost quit Twitter.
Yeah, exactly. But she couldn't understand the difference between somebody just joking around to, somebody being really serious and got into this huge Twitter beef with a whole bunch of, I mean, they weren't even other actors, they were just people.
Sidebar, just about bitchy actors. The guy from Criminal Minds got fired.
Which guy?
The
Who?
lead guy, the guy from Dharma and Greg. You would think he's a nice guy because of his role on Dharma and Greg.
Oh, apparently he's a dick in real life.
He was on Dharma and Greg.
Yeah,
Yeah, dude.
Oh
He was
wow.
Greg.
he's Greg.
Yeah, I didn't realize that.
And he got fired for
No,
kicking
he
a
looks the exact same.
Well, no, he looks like an FBI guy. Like in Dharma and Greg, like he it was a comedy and they lightened up his look a little bit. But no, he looks like a ball busting FBI guy to me. I
You
was
would,
He looks the exact same.
if you watch Dharma and Greg, you would think he's a nice guy. He kicked a producer on set and got fired for it.
Good.
Yeah.
An idiot.
Apparently, he'd had trouble with everybody. Mandy Patinkin was on that show the first season, I think.
yeah, he was.
Yeah.
And then he left. Apparently, it's because they didn't get along. And he didn't get along with Shamar Moore.
I don't know who that is.
He's the bald guy.
Yeah.
The black dude?
Yeah.
Okay, here's what bothers me about that TV show. And I'm going to throw this out there. None of those guys, except for the Dharma and Greg guy, look like FBI agents. They all look like they're about ready to go to the club or to a bar. When did FBI guys stop wearing suits and ties?
5 years
Honestly,
ago, apparently.
yeah. Honestly, I don't. I think it depends on the occasion, really.
No, yeah, it does depend on the occasion. If you're going to go tromping around the swamp, you're going to want to put on, something other than a suit and tie. But if you look at Bones, if you look at X-Files, if you look at anything else that portrays the FBI suit and tie, because that's how those guys are. And you wear a bad
Yeah,
suit.
but see, the thing is with Criminal Minds, it's like the whole anime thing. They don't have enough time to develop the character because, in all honesty, Criminal Minds is the same episode every single day.
Well,
Or
yeah,
every single week. It's the same goddamn thing.
it is. It's like CSI, it's like numbers or like whatever.
Yeah.
You
But
know
the
what
reason,
bugs
they,
me
the
about that
reason
show?
they're doing something like this is because they have to portray who this person is in any other way.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
you got the hard ass who's in the suit and who's like does everything by the book, and then you have the nerdy kid who kind of he's in like a fucking like a sweater vest,
Yeah.
and then you have like the gruffed up guy who was like touched as a kid and then had to like grow up about that and do all these stuff.
and jeans
which
and
was-
t-shirt, yeah.
Yeah, with the jeans and t-shirt, and then you have the old guy who's like the seasoned veteran, so he dresses in he does the Dave approach.
Yeah.
Where he wears, comfortable, like, dark colored blue jeans.
Well, he's the guy they pulled out of retirement who is successful already.
Exactly.
Honestly,
So every single person is set up like that. Even, what's her name? The computer chick. I forget her name.
Penelope?
That sounds right. But even
Yeah.
her, she's supposed to be this cute, bubbly little girl, so her clothes all do the same thing.
Yeah, well, she has a very like 50s housewife kind of look about her.
Exactly.
Which
So the reason they did that is because they had no time to develop their actual characters until season like 5.
yeah, but even Penelope's wardrobe is more business professional than what some of the people are. When they brought in what's her face, the Ghost Whisperer, she looked like an FBI agent. They gave her a bad haircut, they gave her a bad suit, and they put her out in the field.
She was in it.
Yeah.
Jennifer Love Hewitt?
Yeah,
Yeah.
She was in just like the last season or like 2 seasons ago or something.
I honestly haven't seen an episode of this show, like a full episode.
Uh,
I'll catch a piece of it on my lunch break because it's the only thing they play.
Uh,
But what bugged me about the show was apparently you could do all that sort of psychoanalysis enough to create this detailed profile of like a complex human being, like serial killer, in the confines of an hour television show.
yeah.
well, yeah, I mean, CSI, if you watch CSI Miami, which is the most unbelievable of the bunch, which Heather loves shows like this and she loves CSI Miami, but she gets the fact that it's stupid. It's you have people who are working crime scenes that are filled with blood in all white outfits, and they solve the crime before lunch. It's
Yeah,
like
dude. That's
half
how the
of
real world works.
those tests would take weeks
Yep.
for results to come back, but everything is wrapped up in like an hour, hour and a half. I've like actually watched episodes and tried to figure out their timeline because they would start stuff in the beginning of the episode and it would be done before kids get let out of school. And I'm like, no, that is like 3 hours at most that they've dedicated to this thing and they caught the bad guy. No.
Yeah.
Ben
Like,
Savage was on Criminal Minds.
what was?
Corey Matthews was on Criminal Minds.
Yeah, they have a spot. They kind of did this thing since Mandy Patinkin left. They bring in somebody for like 1 or 2 seasons, 3 seasons at most. I think Jennifer Love Hewitt was on, and then they just go and they come back. They kept what's his face, Joe Montana. No, not Joe Montana. Is it? No, who's the guy that stayed?
Yeah.
Yeah, Joe Montana.
Show me
Okay,
some.
yeah, they kept him around, but he's just a fun guy and a fun character. He's the guy they pulled out of retirement who wrote books about serial killers who keeps coming back to haunt him and
Joe
shit.
Montana is a fantastic actor, greatly talented.
Yeah,
Every time I see him, I think Baby Stay Out.
but yeah, I mean like he's the only guy besides like the regular cast who has been there, but they bring in like a guest for to stay in for a couple of seasons and then they leave, and I think it's just for a ratings grab. Oh, Jennifer Love Hewitt's on our TV show for the next 2 seasons. So,
Well, yeah, it's because they realized how shitty of a premise this is. It's the
well,
same thing over and over and over again.
no, you're
They did
absolutely
it again. They brought back the guy from CSI Miami, the Latino guy.
yeah. But these kind of shows, their characters
What,
are never.
Punch?
Yes, he was in CSI Miami.
Punch, yes.
But they their characters never change because a lot of TV viewing people are still old school and they want the same thing every week. So their characters don't change. And when the characters finally do end up changing, they leave the show. So what Criminal Minds did is kind of genius. They bring in a guest character to be on for like 2 seasons to change and be different from the time that they started. And then they leave and they bring somebody else in to do it all over again. But none of the other characters change. They did this with Numbers. And Bones is the same way. And Bones is the one that pisses me off most because David Borealis is an intelligent character. His Booth character is intelligent. And hanging out with the Squints all day long, he should pick up some of this stuff. But stuff that they go over every episode, he doesn't pick up on. And it bothers me because he should. He should know what they're talking about to some degree. He's not going to get all of it, but he can get some of it. And he doesn't.
Maybe he just doesn't want to.
But with Numbers, there was an agent who finally started picking up on what the nerds were talking about, the numbers guys, and she started actually explaining what the numbers guys were talking about to the regular FBI agents. And if you know anything about the FBI, they have to have, to be in the FBI, you have to have a master's degree in something. Doesn't matter what. You just have to have a master's degree in something. You have to have graduated from college. So these guys are not dumb. That was always my advice to any of the kids in college who were like, yeah, I'm studying liberal arts, but I don't know what I'm going to do with it. You get a degree, you can always join the FBI, and they're like, oh, yeah, I can totally do that.
Yeah, the cops are always hiring.
Yeah, but, the guys in the FBI aren't dumb, so the fact that they don't pick up on what these people are putting down every week is kind of insulting to your audience, but that's what the audience wants. So this one character finally starts getting it and explaining it to the other FBI agents, and then she's gone three episodes later. She's talking about her retirement and shit.
You know what shows have like a built-in way of getting those new characters in every year to kind of like draw attention?
Ted.
Shows like Arrow and Flash, because every year they have a new villain.
Yeah, exactly. It's
Hmm.
it's it's kind of like that. Instead of a new villain, they have a new hero who they can do a story arc or two with and then leave. But anyway,
It's Boreanaz, by the way.
I know I always mispronounce his name, but he's a great actor. He was great in Angel. He's great in this.
Yeah.
I think he's intelligent just himself, but I think his character should be a little bit more intelligent than what he is. I mean, I get what they go with it, that he's the humanitarian and she's the brains of the operation, that he cares, even though he's the tough guy, he's actually very sentimental, and they say that actually in one episode that Dr. Brenner is like, you guys, you tough guys are all just really sentimental, aren't you? And I thought that was just a great way of summing up his character, and that's what he is. He's family oriented, he's loving, he's caring, whereas she's cold and calculating, and that he brings out the warmth in her. He is her credentials for humanity, kind of like how Scully was Mulder's credentials
I thought
for
it was the other way around, because Scully seemed robotic at times.
she did, but she also was grounded in quote unquote reality, where Mulder was always thinking that there was a conspiracy, even though he was right. He was always kind of segregating himself, and he lived in the basement. He segregated himself. He was just one bad experience away from being one of the lone gunmen, and just completely segregating himself from society. And Scully was the only thing that kind of rooted him in reality. And she was more caring than he was, but she was an actual medical doctor where he was just a psychiatrist. So he worked outside of kind of reality to begin with. But like Booth is Bones's credentials for being human, but it should work in the opposite way. He should become smarter because of their relationship. It should not only be her becoming more compassionate. And I think that's where they should start going with this show, because this show has been on for like fucking ever, and it's a great show. But it's the same thing every week.
All this conversation has done is point out just how little network television I watch.
Yeah,
Barely all into Bone, and I
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way, Jamal. I'm like, man, I understand half the words he's talking about right
well,
now.
the only
I
reason
watched like
why
5 episodes of Elementary the other day. That's as close as I've gotten to watching like a full season of any of this.
compared to Sherlock, Elementary is actually elementary. It is so badly done, and the only really redeeming thing to that for me is Lucy Liu, and that's just because she's cute.
So you watch a lot of network TV, I take it.
Um, Heather watches a lot of network TV. She'll watch some of these shows when I'm around, and I'll watch it just because I want to do stuff with her. But it's like she's really into these kind of shows, so I watch it, and this is why I see where this is going. I was really kind of big into Bones for a while, and I was big into the original CSI. I didn't like the other two, and Without a Trace, and that was about it for me. And then
Does,
if
does Arrow, Gotham, and Flash count? Because if so, then I watch a little bit of network TV.
I would say so, because if you look at like what they're doing on Netflix, Netflix is amazing, but
Yes.
they don't go into anywhere near that kind of depth even in Arrow or The Flash, which they should be going into so much more. But it's like, yeah, I don't. If it wasn't for Heather, I wouldn't watch any of these shows either. I wouldn't purposely watch any of these shows. Not that they're bad shows. It's just that you've watched the first two seasons and you know everything about that you need to know. You can jump into any episode and with very little background, you can be caught up. So I don't
Sure.
really, yeah, I don't really watch a lot of it, but it's
Okay.
like shows like this, like Stranger Things. Um, I ended up watching all of Ash versus the Evil Dead, which is actually a really good show. Which
Haven't seen a single episode.
hmm?
Haven't seen a single episode.
I was going to suggest that for the show for this week, but since we just did a TV show and we don't all have a lot of time, um, I need to wrap this up because I need to get going here pretty soon. But I'm thinking, why don't we watch Ghostbusters and critique that one, since it's not getting a lot of love right now, and see if the critiques that are befalling it are deserved.
By the way, 77 for Ghostbusters on Rotten Tomatoes, and
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
it's losing 40 million. 27 for Suicide Squad, and it's already over 400 million.
I don't think Suicide Squad though is going to make any more money. I think it had a brilliant opening weekend just because it was Suicide Squad and it was DC Universe, and with the lip service that it's getting, I don't think it's going to make much more than that.
Yeah, I think it's going to peter out at this point in
Yeah.
time.
700 million tops.
How much?
7.
You think
700?
700?
I think it might get over 6. Because it's only 2 weeks in, and it's already like 450 something. It'll get over 6, but it won't hit 7.
Yeah, but this should be $1 billion movie.
Yeah.
Easy.
Eh.
No, I don't think it'll go billion. Yeah, I'm gonna
It,
go with Jamal on that one.
it should be. It's
No,
not going to
because
be.
everybody on that team is a lesser known character. The only really known character you have on there is somebody else's sidekick.
Oh, and that's another thing. They had Katana, and she had all of 3 lines in that movie. She's like one of the she's a tertiary character for DC, but she's one of my favorite tertiary characters. Like the whole Outsiders thing was one of my favorite comic books, and
Outside is a movie that should be made.
it should be. I always thought even before Marvel came out with what they were doing, I thought they should have done the Outsiders as standalone movies and then have them come together as a team to save what was the character Halo, the light powered character.
Ah,
I think that was her name because in the later comic book she was in a coma and it was something that the Outsiders did and they were going into her background. That's when the Eradicator joined the
I
group
think
and
I think
everything.
Outsiders is on the way because just tonally it fits with the way DC movies are right now, which are dark.
It fits. They had Katana in this film, and if they bring in one more outsider to be in one of these other DC Universe movies, then they'll probably do an outsider movie. If they bring in like Black Lightning or Metamorpho, those are the two really popular ones. Then they'll probably do an outsider movie.
Black Lightning, I feel like, is either going to end up on one of the TV shows or, you know what? No, I don't think he makes it to movie screen.
Well, technically he was in the Super Friends, except they called him Black Vulcan, and I don't know why. It was something about the copyright, I think.
Yeah, it was a copyright thing, but
Yeah.
that's a movie up there with, when do I finally get a good Fantastic Four movie?
Again, Fantastic Four, much like these movies, like this one, like Superman, like Man of Steel, and like Batman versus Superman, I don't know if they don't give them enough time or if they give them too much time, but it's all set up, and then at the last minute they're like, oh shit, we need a boss fight at the end, and that's what I feel like these films are, that they're all set up, and that they don't really think it through before they start putting shit on film. Because like Fantastic Four, the way they did it could have been an amazing film. This Suicide Squad had a lot of potential, and they squandered it. And even Batman versus Superman, had they just kind of concentrated on one thing, would have been a great film. But they threw in so much shit that was completely unnecessary.
That last Fantastic Four it was either one of two things. It wasn't enough like Stranger Things, which is like fun sci-fi,
Uh huh.
or it was just totally different from what it should have been. The second two theater movies, the ones with Michael Chiklis and Chris Evans,
Yeah.
those got the tone right, but they were just campy as hell.
Yeah. See, I think the tone was not bad. I think going gritty and realistic is not bad because like everybody's doing that.
It's
And
not Fantastic Four. The Fantastic Four is like superhero sitcom.
yeah,
It's
no, I
not
get
that.
that, but it felt like they didn't really do anything with these characters. It took so long for them to get their powers, and by the time they got their powers, you know, then they skip over all this time. There's a lot of skipping over time, and then all of a sudden they throw in a boss battle. And the thing about that boss battle was that here you have Victor Doom, who is walking around kicking everybody's ass, kicking the ass of the Fantastic Four individually, and then all of a sudden they're able to actually overpower him. It didn't seem right. It seemed like the girl in the horror film who trips being chased by the monster.
Holy shit! Parappa the Rapper is back.
Wait, is he in a movie?
No, he's getting his own anime series.
Jesus Christ.
Well, time will tell with that one.
No, it's gonna be terrible, just like the game was terrible. Was it a game?
Shit.
Yeah, it was a game, yes.
Okay.
PS1.
I saw him on TV and it bugged the hell out of me.
Anyway, so Ghostbusters for next week?
Yes.
Fine.
Wow, Mario. Why don't you put some enthusiasm into that?
You know where to find free movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll definitely have coffee next week.
Yeah, okay. And again, everybody who joined us, thank you for joining us on behalf of Mario I. Silvas and Jamal Alexander. And go ahead and check us out on our website, mof.ninja. Like, what's the name of our show? Makers
Jesus,
on Film.
Alex, really?
We haven't done it in so long. So, like, Makers on
You
Film.
did it last week.
It's your fucking show. You named
You
it.
started this.
You named the damn show.
You're bad. You should feel bad. I want you to know that.
I don't feel bad because I forget everybody's name. I'm lucky to remember your guys' name.
That's actually no. The only
That's
reason
what
you
it
know
is
us is
about
because you
before
saw
I
us
was
every day for
Mario.
3 years.
That has a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
Repetition is a big thing for me. So yes.
Yeah, I know it is.
Yes. I had to put you guys in fucking credits, so that helped.
By the way, there's a Serenity animated trailer if you guys are interested in that. I'm not.
Are they bringing it back as a cartoon, or is this like a fan thing?
The fan thing.
Because I was thinking I might want to create a new movie company, an offshoot, and just start doing fan films and seeing if I can do them better than Hollywood. Like try to do a Hitman short that that's more like the game and like what people know of Hitman instead of what Hollywood keeps shoving down our throats.
You tell you're still a decade out from the first good video game movie.
Unfortunately, I think you're right.
At least a decade.
Somebody's going to do it. Somebody's going to do one of these more serious games like The Last of Us. Like The Last of Us, or they're going to do Fallout, which has a little bit of humor in it. And they're going to take it seriously and they're going to do it.
The new Tomb Raiders are pretty gritty.
The games?
Yeah.
Oh, they're talking about doing an Uncharted movie that's in talks right now. So that might be the first video game movie that actually is good. Fingers crossed.
I forgot to bookmark this thing. What's that site again?
The mof.ninja.
What does the MOF stand for?
Makers on Film. See, it's repetition. That's how I learn it. And I'm working on getting us a sponsor. There's a company here in town that's it's a small company that does alternative power source, and I'm talking to one of the guys right now about it. So we might have some corporate sponsorship later on.
Oh, cool.
So look out for that. And I have to go take a poo now. So
All right.
again,
Fair enough.
thank you guys for joining, and Ghostbusters for next week, and we'll talk to you later.
Yep. Later, guys.
Mario and Alex, have fun slaughtering chickens.
I don't slaughter them. I just put them in boxes. I told you that. And I'm bringing down the whole organization from the inside. You know, any organization that hires me is going to fall apart eventually.
Hey, Alex,
Yeah?
cut that part out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you need your job.
Yeah. Come on, you want to be swimming in like a fort of pianos that
Oh,
just
dude,
Oh, yeah, I think Jamal just exploded.
there was another piano for free on Craigslist yesterday.
Nice.
I know, right? That one was a little shitty looking, but still. I need to...
Heather didn't want you to take it, did she?
Again, we don't have a vehicle to transport it, but I'm thinking about there's a cargo van. It's a really rapey looking van, but regardless, it's cheap and I might get it, and then I just might start packing it full of piano.
piano fort.
Piano fort. I'll strap them to the outside of the van and have piano van, and then just crash into people with piano van.
Fort Minor. You call it Fort Minor.
Ooh, that's good actually. I like that. But anyway, thank you for joining us, and you guys have a good day.
Later, guys.
Later, guys.
Join the makers each week as they discuss film, TV, and pop culture. To learn more about them, go to mof.ninja. This is Sean Connery saying goodbye.
And now I'm sad. Sad balls.
Your balls are sad?
Sad balls.